How many Democrats are there in New Hampshire in the final push, all selling themselves as the most electable? I'm Spartacus. I'm Spartacus. Spartacus didn't even end it. Cory Booker's out. And I know Kirk Douglas, who played Spartacus, rest in peace. Hey, he made it to 103. And then Trump's at a rally last night saying Democrats will lose because America will never be a socialist country. Bernie Sanders, as we were saying a few minutes ago, may very well pull this out. I think he won in Iowa, even though it's so close. And Buttigieg, just a hair more or not, but that's also the Democrat Party deciding to make it something that it's not. I didn't see numbers. Bernie had a rally last night, right? One of those clips we played was that he had a big turnout. I got to think Trump's was bigger, wasn't it? But yeah, Bernie's drawing a lot of people who are there going, it's all free. I like it, Bernie. It's all free. Just look at his tax plan. That'll make your skin crawl, especially if you think your 401k is good now. Imagine under Bernie. Run the numbers. Confiscatory comes to mind. That's one. Yeah, confiscatory taxes. It's like Sacramento on steroids. That's where he wants to go. So let's keep that in mind. AM 760 Talk and Breaking News. Star Parker back with us, founder of Urban Cure. You can find her at starparker.com. It's also where you can connect to her brand new best-selling book, Necessary Noise, How Donald Trump Inflames the Culture War and Why This is Good News for America. I still keep thinking, at some point you told me, Star, we were talking about Maxine Waters, I think, when you were running for Congress, and she was in the mix, and kind of like there was some noise, and you just said ignore the noise. But this is different, the necessary noise part. I just want to get that straight.
It is different because I was saying ignore the noise part, but then the Lord tapped me on the shoulder and said, oh, no. This noise is similar to right in the 1850s and 60s when we just knew that we needed to make some really big decisions. And we're at that same point in our society today where we have big decisions, so there's big noise. That's why D.C. is so, let's just say we are all in security protection programs right now, but it's necessary. Yeah. No, we have to make a decision. You were just talking about Bernie. We've got to decide, are we going to be secular and statist, socialist, or are we going to be biblical and free? And that's noisy, making those choices.
Well, here's Trump at his big rally in Manchester, New Hampshire last night, making some noise. And you got to admit, whenever he's on, like him or not, it sure is entertaining. Here he is talking about last week's State of the Union. And, of course, Nancy Pelosi, Ms. Warmth, is sitting behind him.
On Tuesday, I delivered my address on the State of the Union. And I had somebody behind me who was mumbling terribly, mumbling. Wah, wah, ho, ha.
There wasn't Pence.
Mumbling. Very distracting. Very distracting.
Oh, no. Oh, there's lock her up again. That makes the left cringes every time they do. They can do it, but...
No, it's very distracting. I'm speaking and a woman is mumbling terribly behind me, angry. There was a little anger back there. We're the ones should be angry, not them.
All right, so that was a little bit of last night. All right, Don. Donald, hold it down there, Donald. Thank you very much. You got one spin.
Well, the reason we're not angry is because we're winning on every single issue. I think, people keep saying in the media that Donald Trump is playing to his base. Well, his base is getting really large. In fact, he is higher in the polls than he's ever been, as well as look at these rallies. People were all night outside waiting to get in New Hampshire, and it's raining up there and it's cold up there. But I think that when you look at what's happened on the social issues, when you look at what's happened on the domestic issues, the economic issues, the international policies, Donald Trump is winning. So we're not angry. We're very happy, and we're going to win in 2020.
So many of the Democrats who are running keep talking, and you see these in the ads and here in California, too, because our primary is March 3rd. So Bernie Sanders and Bloomberg, and we see this in some of the congressional races. The theme is like, we've had so much of Trump now, and it's miserable. And look at these urban areas, as if somehow they're not getting the same memos or not getting out and walking in certain places across the nation where the unemployment rate, African-American unemployment rate has gone upward to some historic progress levels here. There's been so much good news, as you know, in minority communities, but politically it's painted like it's more bleak than it's ever been. So what is it?
Well, they just want to paint it bleak because that's the only playbook they know. I mean, let's face it, the rules for radicals is all they know. And they have to keep trying to pretend and keep, I mean, even Bloomberg saying he's a racist and Bernie's out there, he's a racist. Well, for African Americans, we've got a new wind in our sail, including not just the record low unemployment numbers, but the record high start of new business numbers. They're not getting as much attention. What's happening now in our urban cores with the Opportunity Zone initiative that the president launched 2 years ago, to where we're seeing revitalization like never before. And frankly, I'm working very closely with his administration on solving the homeless problem that California is also having, as you want to mention California and the primary in March, because we're going to solve this problem, too. The president is reaching into communities that Republicans have never even thought about going to. And firsthand, he's turning things around. And this is very, very good news. So if the Dems want to use their same playbook from 50 years ago, have at it. In the meantime, communities are being freed up. And once this Supreme Court decision comes down on school choice this summer, it's over for Dems when it comes to locking people in failing schools so that they can keep their party going.
So what's that going to look like, provided it comes down that way in June when they reveal all the mysteries of the Supreme Court cases and school choice?
Well, on the Espinosa case, if we win it, which it looks like there's a real possibility, the court, even the liberals on the court, had trouble defending the Blaine Amendment because it was a total anti-Catholic amendment to these constitutions all around the country that the left constantly uses to say that this is the reason that money can't follow children to religious schools. Well, if the court decides in Espinosa that there is nothing unconstitutional about money following children to even to religious schools, then all these Blaine amendments across the country will be history, which means now that school choice is a reality for every student in every community. And the Trump administration, as he announced during his State of the Union, has been working very aggressively through its Department of Education to make the reality for poor people now that if you are availed to a Title I, like you're in our food program in your school, that you'll be able to go to any school you want to. Your parent can go to any school that they want to choose for you, even if it's a religious Christian school.
Well, we can't possibly have parental choice. I mean, that doesn't fly. How it is in California and in D.C., too. When they talk about, and you see this in a lot of these different campaigns, you want good education for kids preschool. That is code for government wants hands on your kids about the time they come out of the womb. And a lot of these people in government really don't necessarily want the kid to come out of the womb. That's first and foremost. But when it does, they're like, well, let's cultivate that youngster to vote for us. I mean, that's really what's going on here. So anytime they're pandering to daycare needs and everything else, but that's really job one, isn't it? Indoctrination. Am I being too paranoid? Yeah.
It is. And I mean, even that is a bogus messaging point for the left, that most children are already in daycare. So for them to constantly say we need it from womb to tomb they're halfway there. The problem that they're running into is that, especially with poor parents, when they get their little voucher in daycare, they go to Christian schools. They can go anywhere. It stops at kindergarten, and that's why the school choice movement is so animated now, because of the possibility that we could overturn these Blaine amendments, because that's K through 12. But you're absolutely right. They have been using this daycare arena as little indoctrination centers forever. The challenge is that people have freedom there, so they're not forced into a government plan, and that's what they're talking about now, is not allowing for children to go or to forcing children to go to daycare. They're already in daycare. Like, I think those numbers are 80% are in daycare. It's forcing them to go to a government-controlled daycare. Those are the few little words they leave out of their discussion. We already go, but you guys are going to private ones, and those private ones are teaching religion, and we can't have that. We want to indoctrinate your children. And so that's why we keep saying no, and we have to fight it. It's one of the reasons that I'm hoping that in Southern California we can pull our act together and get those congressional seats back in Orange County, because we've got to win the House. Otherwise, these initiatives will keep pushing forward, and then they'll keep trying to narrate that it's the Senate that's stopping progress. Just the fact that the left can put up a socialist and people are taking it seriously shows us that we have a lot of work still to do.
Star Parker with us, starparker.com, author of Necessary Noise, founder of Urban Cure. When you get into this homeless issue that you touched on, where you're actually working with the White House on some of that, you mentioned the Supreme Court. that decision a few weeks ago made it more complicated. I mean, I see more people on the streets, these people who are not or don't want to be in facilities. And the way the law works now, because the Supreme Court said we're not going to take it, let the lower court stand, and that was if you don't have a bed available any given night for someone who's on the street, then they can camp out on your sidewalk. And they're trying to do tough love on this, and there are beds available. But you also run into people who just don't want to do that. Then they can get arrested. They're back out in 3 days. But all of a sudden, it's like this urban homesteading is happening on sidewalks. I saw more of it this morning. Cold nights and everything else. I had some of these cases of veterans, and occasionally you see families, and you're not quite sure who's using whom. Sometimes the kids are there as fundraising props as well. But it's gotten ugly, and it's everywhere. I mean, that's California landscape now.
It is, but short-lived. This administration is on top of it. In fact, they just brought in a really, really good guy that doesn't see this as a housing problem. It's not housing first, and that's what we've been trying for as a society, and that's why we're seeing those numbers go up, especially under the Barack Obama administration. It was like housing first. It's not housing. This is people first. So this administration is thinking it might turn about 5 years to get it back to where we know that it's controllable. It is absolutely out of control, but attention is being placed on it because it is breaking down in 5 different areas. The mental that you're bringing up is a very big concern. The economic distress, those that are one paycheck away from homelessness, is a concern. But so are the drug addicted and the alcohol addicted and the those that are disabled or having trouble too. Because in urban communities, when you have a whole lot of single living, which is what's beginning to happen, you have fewer spaces available, so prices go up. And then you have these aggressive liberals who thinks that taxing is a good idea, so prices go up. And so you price people out of being in communities where you have, places for them to also work. That's number one. Number two, you have local communities that are not implementing their no loitering laws. You're going to have what Rudy Giuliani did in New York, to where you have this policing ability to move it along. It was a concept called broken windows. I actually talk about it in my new book.
That's right. So here's the thing. We're running out of time.
Remind ourselves of that time.
That's right. And, of course, it's even tougher in California because of some of the state laws, but there are some laws that can be enforced.
Yeah, but they have to be changed. You got to people in California should not give up their local communities because they have a horrible governor. They need to replace him. That's what you need to do. Recall him and get some good leaders.
Well, there's work on that, too. Real quickly here, Star Parker, there's a lot of talk about Joe Biden. The reason he's not doing well is already gotten out of New Hampshire before the polls close and on to South Carolina. He's got a problem with African-American voters, and the same thing with African-American voters in Buttigieg, and on and on and on. And Cory Booker, Spartacus, isn't even in the mix anymore, running for the nomination there. So whenever things get tough, and Elizabeth Warren was having some race issues that came up the other day about some of her staffers being upset with her over that. So this seems to be what happens when there's nothing else to go to politically. So what do you make of that?
Well, they also see that the black vote is slipping away. What they do not have anymore is a monolithic, we own you a community. The black community, especially when they have a little bit of money in their pocket because the economy is good, starts to look elsewhere. People do not vote their comfort. They vote their concern. And when you're not concerned, you can start thinking about other things. So you have black people now all across the country in the middle class who are doing quite well. So they're looking away from Democrats totally, not just these particular Democrats as the narrators on the news want to pretend. It's not about Biden. It's not about Buttigieg. It's about Donald Trump, and he's attracting a lot more African Americans.
Star Parker, Necessary Noise is the new book. You can find it at starparker.com. Thank you very much, and be careful out there. I mean that in a very secure sort of way, because I know they're coming for you. Be careful. See ya. All right, thanks, Star. All right, AM 760, talk and breaking news.
You're listening to Mark Larson on AM 760, talk and breaking news. AM 760.